Good morning. It's Ruby Powers, board certified immigration attorney with Powers Law Group. It's 11 Central Time-ish on Saturday, January 13th, 2018. I am going to answer questions that we see on our Facebook Live, the question and comment section, as well as frequently asked questions that I've been getting a lot this week, and from the consultations I've had frequently hotspot red flag issues that we've seen. So this is one of our first answer Q&A type of Facebook Lives. So we just want to interact with the audience as you guys have questions, but we will be starting to do these on a regular basis in the future. So basically, this was a busy week. We had on Monday, the Department of Homeland Security announced that Salvadorian TPS, that has been in existence since 2001, will only be extended one last time, and it will all end September 2019. So there's around 250,000 people with Salvadorian TPS, and so that impacts a lot of people. Even though we are in Houston, Texas, we have clients all over the world, but in Texas alone has 30,000 El Salvadorian TPS recipients. Now, in many cases, these people have been, the TPS recipients have been here a long time, have American young children, business owners, working employees in schools, and so it's going to have a huge impact because they only have about a year and a half to find a Plan B, what I'm calling a Plan B in their legal status. Now, that was Monday. Now, Tuesday, we got the announcement that District Court Judge in California v. DHS issued a nationwide injunction prohibiting Trump administration from ending DACA as it relates to renewals. So, you know, we went back in the history here. We got DACA in 2012. Then in September 2017, September 5th, President Trump said, no more DACA, one more month left to renew. And so everybody scrambled to renew if they qualified, and they had DACA was going to expire within 150 days of October 5th. So what does that mean? We sent out a newsletter yesterday, and it's also on our social media, but basically it means that if you have DACA and your DACA is going to expire within 150 days of now, you can submit a renewal. And now the funny thing is that the I-821D form is not on USCIS website. Still checked this morning, still not there. But many people had saved the form, which was still valid, and so that's what people are using. Now that was announced Tuesday night. Today is Saturday morning, so we're basically, some people have already started applying because it's their only opportunity to renew their work authorization while all of this is being discussed. So the other thing that's going on in the backdrop, and I think that was Thursday, no, I don't know what day it was, Thursday, there was negotiations about DACA and TPS, maybe Wednesday, I'm not sure, but it was Wednesday, okay. And bottom line is the U.S. government needs to pass a bill to keep the government running. And so there's a lot of negotiation writing right now, which is why this is such a hot topic. The president wants a border wall, and other congressmen, representatives, senators want to have DACA or DREAM Act alternative, DACA alternative. So anyway, there's a lot of discussion about it, and basically we're hoping and we're working and we're advocating for a DREAM Act or a DACA alternative, and we also just need a plan accordingly for the end of TPS for El Salvador, which is the majority of all the TPS recipients. Of the 300,000 or so TPS people, El Salvador has the majority with around 250 or 200,000. Okay, so if these are some of the questions, these are the things that normally come along. Like yesterday I was asked, does TPS lead to legal permanent residency or green card? And not on its own, it doesn't. But if you have a qualifying relative, it is possible. So one of the things that people are asking for the El Salvadorian TPS situation is many of them have been here for more than 17 years. Just because it started in 2001 doesn't mean the people got here in 2001. Many had been here since the mid or late 90s. So in some cases, people have U.S. citizen children. Now, an ideal scenario would be the person entered, received TPS, now they have a U.S. citizen 21-year-old child or up, about to be 21, maybe they're already 21, or maybe in a couple years, and that U.S. citizen child could petition for their TPS parent. Now this is the thing though, it's not that easy. If the person who has TPS entered illegally in certain states in the United States, in Texas is in the Fifth Circuit which holds this, then they would have to have a legal entry. So that's why so many people are focused on getting the travel document. So with TPS, you're allowed the travel document. And if you apply for that, you leave and you come back in, you have a legal entry, and then you have a 21-year-old or a U.S. citizen child, you could adjust in the clean scenario. So not saying giving legal advice on that, every case is a little bit different, but that is a possibility. Now, many cases, people might not be eligible for the travel document and or might not have the U.S. citizen child that are already 21. And that's basically what I've been seeing. A lot of people don't have, their children aren't 21, and they might not be 21 before September 2019. Okay, so we have a question.
So we have a question that came in from someone that submitted an email. What is the difference between an attorney and a notario?
Oh, okay. That's a really good question. Basically, how do I get that? An attorney is licensed by a state bar. They went to school, college, law school, in many cases, and took a long test, a bar, and got licensed by the state requirements. And so it takes a lot of requirements to meet those, to become called a licensed attorney and to stay licensed. And they had to also pass some ethics exams as well. A notario is what we call here in the U.S. So we have notaries. Now, notaries are allowed by the state to notarize documents. But in many of Latin American, certain countries around the world, a notary is even almost like a certified or higher than an attorney. And so some people use that misunderstanding here in the United States, and as a notario, we refer to them as people who are unauthorized practice of law, completing out forms, and the immigrant population trusts them that they are doing what they need to do, and they think it's going to take care of the case. But in reality, a notario is not bound by the state bar and is not allowed to practice law, and in reality, it's an unauthorized practice of law. Now, what I've also seen a situation, so you need to be very careful about notarios or friends who fill out forms or people who just fill out forms, because immigration has gotten a lot more complicated in the last year and a half. And this is really important to go to an experienced licensed attorney and one who has a lot of immigration experience and can help you. So it's definitely important to check the recommendations and on the online and check with the bar that they're licensed in.
So the next question that came in is, what if a notario has already filled out my paperwork?
Well, it sort of depends on where you are in the process. So like if one has already submitted it, get a copy of whatever has been submitted, and then you can come to a licensed, experienced immigration attorney to get an opinion if things were done well or if they need to be withdrawn and refiled. You could try to still fix it. Depends on what's been done. So it doesn't mean it's all hope is lost. So the one thing I also like to tell people is, until you become a U.S. citizen and you've gone through this immigration process, you should always keep a copy of everything. Even if you hire even if you do it on your own, keep a copy, because to get a copy of anything in your file requires, if you don't keep it, it requires a Freedom of Information Act request, which can take some time. So make sure to keep a copy, or if anyone helps you, get a copy so you can have a complete copy. So depending on the scenario, whether it was filed or about to be filed, you go to an attorney with a copy of whatever you have or whatever you can piece together, and they can try to take it from there.
Another question that we have is, I have a son that is 18 years old, and we both have TPS. They're from El Salvador. Is there anything that our son can help us with, immigration-wise?
Okay. So the son is has TPS, or
the son is a U.S. citizen.
Oh, the son is a U.S. citizen.
He's
okay.
18 years old.
Okay, so that's important. So, and then we, meaning the mom and dad of the 18-year-old U.S. citizen. Well, this is very much like a consult I had this week, where we were calculating the dates as to when the 18-year-old turns 21, because did they just turn 18 or are they about to turn 19? So this is a common scenario. So basically, when the 18-year-old son turns 21, they can file an I-130 for the mom and dad. But it's not that simple. It's like what I was mentioning before. Did the mom and dad have a legal entry or not? And do they have any prior deportations or crimes or any other issues that would hinder the adjustment of status process? So in that case, it would be that when the child's 21, they can file the I-130, but it would definitely be important to have a consultation to screen to make sure that the rest of the process would run smoothly. Now, that goes back to what I was mentioning. In certain circuits, including, I believe it's the 6th and the 9th Circuit, which includes like California, for example, it's been held that by having TPS, that's considered an admission, which means all things being clean and no criminal history, deportation issues that you would require more waivers or other issues. If the person has TPS and let's say they have a U.S. citizen 21-year-old child, they could have the child petition for them without having to leave to come back in to have a legal entry if they entered illegally initially. Now, but in the 5th Circuit, which is Texas, you would need to get that travel document to enter legally. Now, the other thing I just want to mention, and until I take another question, right now, the 250,000+ TPS El Salvadorian recipients are all probably thinking the same thing. Get a consult, hopefully, get one soon. Do a Freedom of Information Act request on anything they might have filed or had happen. Potentially, maybe if they ever interacted with immigration court, they should be doing a Freedom of Information Act request with EOIR, which is the court, Executive Office of Immigration Review. The other thing is that if they've need to be getting their passports if they're trying to get their travel documents to be able to leave to come back in after they get their renewal. Now, so I'm thinking the consulates, the El Salvadorian consulate is going to be busy, the EOIR FOIAs are going to be busy, the attorneys are going to be busy, so don't delay, because a lot of times to have a plan B, it takes a year and a half or so. So that's what I've seen this last week with all of this talk. So I'll take another question. So
he says, someone submitted a question saying that they are from Honduras and that they have heard that TPS is ending. They're asking if this is true.
Do we have an update about Honduras yet? I know that there's the expiration is July 2018. So for right now, but in most cases, we're getting announcements a couple of months before an expiration date as to whether it'll be extended or if it'll be the last extension. So that, as far as I can tell, that one, we're still waiting for more information, because right now it's good until July 2018.
Our next question comes in from someone who says that they have employees right now that they know have TPS. What can they do to help those employees?
Well, for the most part, I would say highly suggest that those employees go get an experienced immigration attorney consultation, because in many cases it's not a clean-cut answer for everybody's situation. Everyone has different situation, how they entered, if they've ever encountered an immigration with the court, if they have any crimes, if they have any qualifying relatives. So I would say if you know they have TPS and if you want to be involved, tell them to go to a highly qualified immigration attorney for a consultation, and don't wait till the last minute.
So this was just a comment that we had earlier in a previous video. Mm-hmm. How do TPS holders contribute to our economy?
Well, we have, just one of the stats we have is that combined from TPS from El Salvador, Honduras, and Haiti, there's contributed $4.5 billion in pre-tax wages and salary to the GDP, which also contributes to Social Security and Medicare because they have valid work authorization. Social Securities are in the system. So definitely, just alone with Social Security and Medicare contributions, those individuals estimated more than $6.9 billion over a decade. So it's really going to hurt the economy to have this program discontinued. And if no negotiations reopen the extension of this of Salvadorian TPS, for example, my biggest message today is start planning. Start planning now, and don't waste. Don't wait till the last minute, because coming in August 2019 is going to be too late. There's a lot of things you need to do. You need to do it in time, and plan ahead. So it's definitely important to get a consultation and to start planning. And there's one other thing that I see a common issue with the TPS is that in many cases people might have entered and had an interaction with with immigration, and might have been told to go to immigration court but didn't go, and maybe they didn't understand English, or maybe they were a minor, or maybe they didn't know, they weren't aware, or didn't get the notice. Then later on they don't attend the hearing, and they apply for TPS, which opened up in 2001. Well, if they had an interaction and they were put in the immigration court system, they were issued an A number, which is like the immigration number for immigrants. But then later on, if they applied for TPS and they didn't mention that interaction and they were given a new A number, which is very common, then potentially immigration hasn't connected the dots, as well as if they, on their TPS applications, don't say that they ever had interaction with immigration court. I see this a lot. So what then happens is that the person truly has two A files, A immigration numbers, and maybe the person doesn't realize that they have a deportation order. When you call, there's a 1-800 number you can call with immigration court number with the A number of the deportation order to find out if there was a deportation order. But if the person doesn't know what that A number is in the beginning, then it becomes very difficult. So I've been instructing a lot of people to get a Freedom of Information Act request for immigration court, which is a FOIA for EOIR, to find out what that A number is and what the notice was given, to see if there's any way we could potentially reopen that potential in absentia order. So why does all this matter? Well, it matters for lots of different reasons. People might have used different versions of their last name, or their name, might have different A numbers, and they need to be able to investigate, create a plan, and put it in action before September 2019, which with 250 or so thousand people who need to do all of this in the next year and a half, taxing the EOIR FOIAs, the El Salvadorian Consulate for passports potentially, and the immigration attorneys, and just in general USCIS, it would be very important to do all of this soon. Now, I'm letting you know because in many cases I think people go to notarios or people filling out forms to renew their TPS, El Salvadorian TPS, and they might never talk to an immigration attorney. Well, this is the time to talk to an immigration attorney, and one who does only immigration ideally or has a lot of experience in immigration, because they need to be able to look at the big picture and see what's been happening. happens a lot. In many cases, the person has 2A numbers, has a prior deportation, and hasn't been notifying USCIS they had a prior deportation. Because if they did, they might not have gotten that travel document, and you can't move forward with the green card if you have an absentia deportation order, and that will require more time to be able to reopen that order. Now, I hope this doesn't sound too complicated, but if this is of interest to you, and if there's somebody that you care about, your friend, your neighbor, your mom, your dad, yourself, please make sure that they go get a consultation with an experienced immigration attorney. We're here, and we're opening up on Saturdays. We're giving out more dates available, including January 27th will be open, and potentially even more and more dates. As well as our plan to do more Q&As like this on Friday mornings, and to be available for any questions. So the other thing is that I speak Spanish, and one of our other attorneys speaks Spanish, and we'll be doing these as well in Spanish. But just for right now, we wanted to get some information out really quickly. And, you know, the bottom line is many people are going to need to have a plan B, whether it's for DACA or TPS. The administration has been pretty hostile towards immigrant community this last year, and things have gotten more difficult. It's getting more difficult for attorneys, so the processing times are taking a little longer as well, and things are not as clean cut. So if your immigration status is in question about the future, please, the biggest takeaway is get a consultation from an experienced immigration attorney. You can call us here, Powers Law Group. You know, our number is 713-589-2085. But you can just make sure you do your research on who you go to. Make sure you have copies of your files. And please don't wait to the last minute, please. This is really important. So thank you for your time. We'll be available for future Q&As, and you can always email, call us, schedule a consultation. And thank you for your attention, and hope you have a great weekend. Thanks.